So to get started, since we aren't going to be at the studio, I'm going to pull up, we had some videos that we've already pre-canned. We'll walk through as well, and then also have us walk through the Lightboard training course that we designed, Kathy and Ed designed for you, so that you could kind of get yourself all ready to use the Lightboard before you even get into the studio, so you don't have to make multiple trips to campus in case you forget something. So we're going to start with just kind of a little bit of an introduction of what Lightboard is. And so I'm going to pull this up right now. Just bear with me a moment.
Captivate your audience with a story, presentation, or explanation like you're standing right in front of them making eye contact. Your ability to write and draw in front of you grabs and holds the viewer's attention. Your story comes alive in real time from the tip of a marker. This is the Revolution Lightboard. It's like a transparent whiteboard made of glass, but internal lighting makes your writing glow. Create videos by filming through the Lightboard and then mirroring the image so writing looks correct to the viewer. The presenter enjoys the familiar feel of writing on a whiteboard, but can maintain eye contact with the audience without obscuring the writing. This builds confidence in the presenter and streamlines the creation of presentations that can be streamed live or to create pre-recorded videos. Lightboards are used in schools, corporate training, online courses, and even live audience presentations or conference calls. Creating and engaging with your Lightboard is fast and easy. Just turn on the lights, grab a marker, and hit record. For users who want a plug-and-play solution, we have studio packages which include everything you need to get started. It includes lighting, camera, backdrops, and more. Our tabletop Lightboard range is perfect for those with limited space for creating content in an office rather than a studio. We also offer a range of height-adjustable freestanding systems, including the largest Lightboard available on the market. It has enough room for 2 presenters. Revolution Lightboards have been designed and refined with direct university and industry input. They're custom engineered and manufactured using top-quality materials. This, paired with our history of customer support, has made us the go-to resource for Lightboard needs across industries. Check out our website at revolutionlightboards.com, where you'll find great resources and testimonials from customers like you.
To me, it truly is about the people. The people are phenomenal. The technology is stupid cool. And whatever you're trying to accomplish, if it's training, teaching, whatever it is, I'm telling you, they're going to be blown away. Because I think one of the things that people see with me, even on LinkedIn, are like, wow, that's cool. I get inquiries all the time, how'd you do that? And then the second question, like, how'd you learn how to write backwards? Depends what day it is if I want to give them the answer or not. So anyway, thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Revolution. Good seeing you guys.
All right. That was obviously a bit of a commercial, but it does give you a nice overview of what Lightboard is, right? And what's the technology behind it? It is really just pretty much a piece of glass with some hardware that's thrown in, so that way it'll flip the writing before it gets to the actual video processing. So when it gets to your USB drive, it's already flipped. So you don't have to do anything. And that's really the nice thing about Lightboard. It's really just you pressing a button to turn it on, and then you can start writing with the marker, and it's automatically flipped. So we're kind of, that's just almost just an advertisement for it. I really want to show you one more video, and this one is really about one of the instructors who actually is creating stuff with it. We won't watch the whole video, but this gives you a really good idea of what it is that you can create with it, right? And how you can use the drawings that you normally do on a whiteboard or on a chalkboard in the classroom, and how you can continue and use that kind of face-to-face interaction that you had before and do it in a virtual environment. Here we have an example of an instructor doing this for looking at, I can't even say, equipotential and field example. So we'll watch this one, just part of it right now, just to give you an idea. All right, oops, and I think you're still, if you can't hear the voice,
class,
let me know.
Professor Anderson here. Let's take a look at another example of calculating the electric field from an equipotential. And let's say that we do the following. We have an XY coordinate system. And let's draw our equipotential lines in this direction right here. I'm going to use yellow for this. Okay, there's an equipotential. We'll say that that is at minus 100 volts. Equally spaced from it is another equipotential at 0 volts. And finally, a third at 100 volts. And let's say that this thing makes an angle of 45 degrees with the x-axis. Okay, so these equipotential surfaces are stacked like that. And let's ask the following question. Let's say that we want to calculate the electric field right there. Okay, what is the electric field at that point right there? And we need a little bit more information, right? We need to know these distances. So just to be simple, let's say that this is about 1 meter, and this is also 1 meter. All right, 100 volts every meter. How do we figure out the electric field right there? And how do we figure out the direction? We want the magnitude and we want the direction because it's a vector field. Okay, let's think about this.
Let us think about this a little bit more. Absolutely. So this is a really good example of what it is you would be able to create. You're able to speak naturally. You can speak directly to the camera, just like you're speaking to the students. And you're able to just draw as well. You don't really have to do anything fancy. It's just drawing. Now, and then as you're walking through, you can really see how he has the diagrams with different colors, and he's able to pull out different aspects of what it is he's talking about just by what he's drawing with. So this is exactly what you would be able to produce. And so let's look now a little bit more on how you would do this. And this is where we've already kind of, Kathy, Ed, and I have already created some videos just to walk you through the system that we have set up here at UW Milwaukee. So what is it that you can, how would you create it here at UW Milwaukee, and what does that setup look like? So I'm going to pull out another video, and this, if you aren't familiar with the studio that we have, this is actually taken at studio, so you'll be able to see a little bit of an image of what it looks like. So this is going to be at the studio itself.
After you have the light board turned on using the white button on the left-hand side of the light board, and you've turned off the room lights, you may want to adjust the lighting around the board itself. So there's 3 different lights, and they are controlled on the right-hand side of the light board with the 3 knobs. The first knob on the far left will control the outer rings of lights. The middle knob will control the inner ring of lights. And the far right knob will control the glass lighting itself. And that will control how bright the markers on the glass appear. You may want to test this out, already having some test markers, test drawings on the board itself, maybe using different colors so you can see what they will look like. There's definitely kind of a sweet spot where the marker really glows but doesn't glow too much where you can't see the detail. Your goal here when you're adjusting the lighting is to make certain that the lighting works well for your skin tone and that the students can see the markers clearly.
So as you're kind of setting up when you're in the Lightboard studio itself, different colors, different lighting, those strips right there, that's what you're going to want to adjust beforehand as you're kind of testing out the usage of the first time. Now let's look a little bit more at drawing on the Lightboard itself.
Other trick as well, if you are right-handed, we suggest starting on the far right hand of the board and then drawing in towards the left. If you're left-handed, you want to start on the left-hand side and move towards the right. You want to minimize the time you're standing directly in front of a drawing or an illustration because that will wash out and the students won't be able to see it very well. The other aspect you want to be thinking about as well when you're drawing is when you are drawing live, look at what you're doing. Don't look at the the monitor itself. You want to look at what you're drawing and then look back at the monitor or the camera so the students get the effect of you looking at them. But if you try to look at the monitor while you're drawing, you aren't going to have as precise a detail or control.
And the other question that we often get from instructors who have been using this, kind of testing it out, is how do we start recording and how do I record to a USB drive? So that's what we created here right for you now. So you've got the lighting kind of set up. You figured out how to do the markers, where you're going to start drawing beforehand. Let's start looking at how you actually set this up and start recording. So with the USB stick.
Next, let's look at what we're going to do to start recording. So we've turned everything on. We've adjusted the lights so that they're towards our satisfaction. Next thing we want to do is take a USB stick, and we're going to push that into the very front of the black box right here. Stick that in. You're going to see the two buttons right here start to pulse with a little light. And what we want to do is we're only going to click on the record button when we want to start recording. We don't need to click on that live button at all. So I'm going to click on record. And I'll wait 2 seconds before I start my presentation for my students. We'll notice that that record button that has a blue light that's now solid, steady. And then we're going to do our presentation. When we're ready to finish, click on that button again. Wait till we start seeing it pulsate. There we go. There it's pulsating. And then pull it out. When we're finished, I'm going to wipe down the board. Clean off all the glass. You don't have to worry about making it perfect. Then turn on the lights so you aren't left in complete darkness. Then come back here and press the off button. It'll turn everything off. Now all you need to do is walk out the door and lock everything up again. That's it.
So the Lightboard is really designed to be pretty much a one button, well, technically it's two. You turn the whole system on with a little white switch that I wasn't able to show you on that video. You just press that button to turn it on, and then you do the, you put in your USB stick, you press record, you do your session, you press the button on the USB box again, you pull out your USB stick, and then you just turn off that white button again, you just press that button again, and you turn everything off, and that's pretty much it for using that Lightboard setup. We do ask that you clean the glass off if you could, and we would really like you to lock up because we don't want all the equipment to get stolen. Because of COVID, we aren't able to have someone there in the studio with you at all times, and we really aren't able to have somebody there to help you train as well, which is why Kathy is going to walk you through our sign-up, or Ed's going to walk you through our sign-up procedures, and Kathy's going to walk you through the Canvas course on how to use the Lightboard a little bit more clearly, so that way you can get that trained before you come on campus. The last thing we wanted to show you though was that locking up feature. And if you ever looked, if you've gone to a house for a house showing, you'll recognize how we've done this. All right, last video of the day.
When you're finished for the day with the Lightboard, simply lock up the room by closing the door, sticking the red key into the lock, rotating it counterclockwise and back to vertical. Press the door. It's locked. Next, make certain that the lockbox is out to the correct combination. Press the lever on the left down. Open up the lockbox. Place the keys inside. Shut up the lockbox. Rotate the tumblers and close the flap.
So that pretty much is it for how to, kind of get a little bit of the setup, how to use it, and then how to lock it up. Now that's just a really rough draft and a really rough kind of overview of what it is to use the Lightboard. And there's a lot more in terms of just some strategies for setup, strategies for pedagogy and how to use it. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But right now we're going to have Ed, and he's going to talk to you about how to sign up for it. Anna had a question though, and I will get to that because I don't want to just stay on a script here today. Let's let people ask questions too. Sorry about that. Is there a way to lock the door from the inside while you are in the room? I might have missed that earlier. YouTube is a crappy babysitter. Is there a way to lock the door from the inside? Don't do it. There is, I mean, you could really, if you really wanted to mess around with things, there is a way you could do it, but we would recommend just once you get that red key in and you open it up for the first time, just keep that key with you. You don't need to lock it while you're inside, and you can't lock it from the inside. You have to go around to the outside and lock it and then shut the door. It's kind of, you don't want to try that. Just open it, unlock it, and that's it. I don't know if that answers your question, Anne. I feel like I'm a little scatterbrained today. Hopefully that is something, but there's no like button on the inside to lock it. I guess that's the moral of the story. Ed, can you please walk us through how you would sign up to reserve this room and using the Lightboard?
Sure. So I'm going to share my screen real quickly so we can do that. So, and all of the information that Lane is talking about is inside of this Canvas course, and we will get you that information for that before the end of things. But signing up is pretty easy. There's a sign up for using the Lightboard calendar. So if you click on here, it just basically walks you through it. You're going to email us at cedal@uwm.edu, and down below here is the calendar of open time. So you can see right now it's open in general. A couple of things to remember, that building, it's in the Northwest Quad, building B, is right now open from 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Monday through Thursday, and it's 6:30 to 6 on Friday. With COVID and other things, that building is not open on the weekends at this point. So basically, to sign up for this, you would check the availability down below, see if your time is open, and you would send us an email at cedal@uwm.edu that says, hey, I would like to schedule some time for the Lightboard. I think I'm going to need an hour, 2 hours during this time. That email comes to us, and we will reply to you as soon as possible and confirm your request, and then your time would be locked into this calendar. And then, so we could record a session, push it through our Canvas site later. Yeah, so we're going to hopefully get to all these questions and all these things. So, and there is a video here how to use the lockbox for the room. Here's where the room is located. If you really want to, you can use the Google map to find that. So the code for the room is going to be sent to you when you get your confirmation time. So if you send us the email that says, hey, I want to do this Wednesday from noon to 2 p.m., we'll send you an email back confirming your time. We'll give you a code for that room. Upon occasion, that code is going to change. We plan on changing that code every once in a while. So, you may get a different code just because, as codes go, if they are out there for a long time, they tend to become more public than we would like those things to be. So scheduling, I don't think could be any easier unless we use Google and could actually use a calendar that worked like that. But for now, that's kind of how we're going to schedule things. So I am going to hand this over to door brace. All right, I'm going to hand this back over to Kathy, who I believe is going to start to talk about items. Right, Kathy?
About things. Yes,
about
I just
things.
wanted. Yes, I did.
I was trying to read and talk at the same time. Like, I can't do that.
Seeing some of the questions about safety in the room. I do have a safety door brace that is very easy to use that we will lend to the room for anyone who'd like to kind of lock the door themselves. Okay, so what?
And just on that door thing, I mean, you could lock the door with the key from the outside, but then if you lock yourself in, that's how you could lock yourself out, I guess, is the only thing. But I mean, the key would definitely work. You just lock it and then shut the door behind you, then you can open it up. You could definitely lock it. I guess I was misreading the question. I don't know if that makes sense, Anne and Valerie. I mean, you could just lock it and then go inside and then open it up. Nobody can get in. Okay, yeah. There you go. I guess the only reason I was recommending before against it, though, I mean, we'll definitely look into this now more, was just so that way you didn't lock yourself out by accident. Because if you left the door, if you left the room and then shut the door behind you and you forgot the key, you would be locked out. But I mean, okay, does that make sense? Thank you, and thank you for the help on that. Yeah, so we'll look into that more, though. I just wanted to make sure I got to that, given the questions were popping up on that. So, Kathy, sorry to interrupt.
So I'm sharing my screen and I'm in, again, the Lightboard resources course that we are going to give you the link to, where you can add yourself as a student to the course. And I wanted to talk a little bit about preparing for the Lightboard session, because you really do want to do some things aside from just signing up before you show up at that Lightboard room. So we created a Lightboard checklist that you will want to fill out and make sure you've done all these things before you go. So as we said, and as Ed just discussed, you want to make sure you've contacted CETL. I also, to schedule a time, I also believe even if you have the Lightboard combination, it might change occasionally, so always make sure to get the most current combination for the key safe. If you want, you can purchase your own dry erase markers, and we have a link to the recommended marker. If not, we do have markers right in the Lightboard recording room's closet. Then review the Lightboard instructions in the course just to make sure, because it's easier to ask questions before you go. Not only do we have videos, we also have very, very thorough written procedures. You could even print those out and you could bring them with you when you go. Make sure to get a USB stick with at least 16 gigabytes of free space. I would bring a backup USB drive as well. It might be a good idea to simply have a dedicated USB drive for recording Lightboard. Make sure you're wearing clothing that's dark. This allows students to see your writing even if you're standing in front of it. If you have light clothing or clothing with a lot of pattern, or as we have here, letters, that could obscure what you're writing if you're standing in front of it. And plan your recording using notes and outline. We recommend you keep videos under 15 minutes in length. Much shorter than that is preferred, but we are at this point just talking about the technical limits. 15 minutes is really, you wouldn't want to go past that. And we do have a link that shows you what a 5-minute video, what size that would be, 10-minute, and so on. And then bring your laptop. I always test before I get started doing a long recording, so I might do one brief test recording, eject the USB, and bring it back to the laptop and play it to make sure sound is good, that video is being recorded. And after that, you should be good to go. One other thing I recommend is reviewing the Lightboard frequently asked questions. As you click on this, we've had a lot of questions, which is helpful because that helped us design this. I would go through the questions and see if there is anything that you want to know about. You can just click on this, and so I just left click, and this will take you to your topic. Are there any questions on that before I pass this back to Lane? Okay, thanks a lot.
Kathy and Ed, thank you so much for that. And really, thank you so much for creating that Canvas course, because that Canvas course will really walk you through just step by step what it is you need to do to prepare, especially if you're making a special trip to come onto campus to use the Lightboard. You don't want to have to have forgotten something like your USB stick halfway through. So really going through that course and just walking through the step-by-step instructions would be really, it'll just help you save some time in the long run. And the link to that Canvas course is on the Google document that our collaborative handout that we are using. I'm going to share that link one more time in case you came a little bit later. There we go. And that's where you can also add questions as well. But that link is available right there. Oh, thanks, Ed. And there is the link. Ed just put the course link on there, and then the course link is also on this collaborative handout right here. So this is what you would, if you go to the collaborative handout, you would see how do I use a Lightboard? And then there's a course there. It gives you an outline what it is. And that course would be really helpful for you in preparing. The next thing we wanted to kind of walk through before we start getting to some questions and answers as well is just to give you a few more recording tips. And that is also found on that Canvas site. I'm going to pull that up right now. And Kathy was talking about the clothing that you should wear. This is that video of the instructor last time as well that we just showed. And if you look at that video, you can kind of see he has kind of a nice bright. Let me just pull it up. There we go. He has a nice bright shirt on, and you can kind of see clearly what it will look like when you're standing behind there. So the more muted and darker the colors, the less distraction it becomes, and the easier it is for students to see what it is you're drawing. So just to kind of reinforce what Kathy was talking about, try to wear, this instructor's clothing isn't really that bad. It's a pretty bright shirt, but it doesn't cover up too bad. But once you start getting patterns in there, that's when it gets worse. It's also what's really nice about being able to adjust the lighting on that Lightboard, because he has that lighting adjusted just right for his shirt. If you want to toy with it a little bit, you can get a really nice color so that your students can see the markers really well too. So I'm going to go back to the home page on this Canvas. Just go to the recording tips link right there. Let's walk through a couple of those. The big one that Kathy, besides the clothing, was talking about in terms of recording tips was that 5 to 7 minute length. That's a really helpful guide in terms of not only, it's just easier for students to consume 5 to 7 minute chunks. Once you start making your video longer than 5 to 7 minutes, people kind of are distracted, and their attention will fall off significantly afterwards. Not only pedagogically is that 5 to 7 minute mark really useful, but really once you start getting your videos over 15 minutes, it becomes very difficult for students who have a low bandwidth or are needing to download that video. It becomes more difficult for them to download it. It becomes more difficult for you to upload it. If you make a mistake, it becomes you have to re-record larger chunks or do more video editing. And the last thing as well is if you have those 5 to 7 minute chunks, it's easier for you to recycle those into future semesters. Because if you do like a 50-minute lecture, you may not use one segment of that lecture, or one segment of that 50-minute lecture may become out of date sooner than the other portions. If you keep it 5 to 7 minutes long, you only have to re-record that 5 to 7 minute chunk. You don't have to re-record a whole 50-minute lecture. So there's pedagogical reasons, there's technical reasons, and it just helps save you time. We really highly recommend that 5 to 7 minute mark. The other thing we also really recommend as well is planning out your script. So if you're thinking of, hey, this is what I want to talk about on my Lightboard, really planning out the script and the diagrams you're going to create beforehand, just so that way when you get into the room, you can start working and you can start drawing, and it's a little bit less ums and ahs and a little bit less erasing. And another tip that we've been finding as well is in terms of preparing before you present, if you have a really complicated diagram or illustration, let's say you're going to draw a picture of a heart, and not just like a heart from Valentine's Day, but an actual diagram of the anatomical muscle that is our heart. Some of those more complex drawings we recommend drawing before you start recording. So just draw a picture onto the side on your Lightboard, and then press record once you've got it drawn, just so you aren't spending so much time kind of fine-tuning a kind of a complex diagram before you start recording. I had a question. I'm going to look in the chat box. So a lecture of 75 minutes is better split up into 5 separate videos. I was thinking about 25-minute intervals instead. You certainly can. The Lightboard will automatically, the USB drive, the USB recorder that is there will automatically break up your videos into 30-minute chunks. So if you record an hour-long video, you won't just have an hour-long video. You'll have 2 half-hour videos. So a 75-minute lecture, we would definitely recommend breaking that off into 7 or 5-minute chunks, or even that 25 minutes. Break those up into 2. That's twice as good as 25 minutes. Again, just for download for your students, it makes it easier for them to get that video and do it. And for you as well, if you make a mistake, it's just a lot easier to record a smaller chunk. It also holds people's interest longer. Even smaller, yes, absolutely, Ed. The 5 to 7 minute is perfect. Kathy, go, yes.
Sorry. Seeing the file size document in here, so that's also helpful to look at to see how large the videos will be when it comes to length of recording.
Yeah, the official documentation says about 33 megabytes per minute. We've been getting about 31 megs on ours. Again, it just kind of, just a rough number. Find specific topics. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dylan. And for that, they can find the specific topic. It's much easier to index. And the students have confirmed, Caroline, that they prefer the shorter segments as well. Yes, that is thank you, both of you. Appreciate that. The other things that we've been finding as well in terms not only dark clothing and preparing beforehand, but when you're in the room, shutting the door, and you can lock it as well. Silence your phone and laptop. As another, just before you get started, so you don't have to go halfway through and have this ding ding. When you are putting your USB drive in, if you remember the video that I was showing as well, wait that 2 seconds. It's about 1.5 seconds from the time you have that USB stick in, you press record, and it starts recording. So you just don't jump in right away, just kind of take a deep breath. That's about 2 seconds. And then the same with when you stop, press the record button to start it, press it once more to stop. You'll notice that the light next to the record button will start flashing. Just wait 2 seconds from when you press it to when you pull it out, because you don't want to lose everything you've just done. So just wait 2, 3, even 3 seconds from the time you press record to stop, and then you pull out the USB stick. The other thing as well, when you're finished up with this, is there is a an iMac inside of the room. We're hoping that you aren't editing having to edit at all, really. That's kind of the design, is you don't have to edit much with this. But we'd prefer it if you didn't use the studio space for editing recording. But we highly recommend that you at least check over the USB videos that you've created. Create an MP4. And you just want to test it out. If you forget your laptop, we recommend you bring your laptop with. But if you forget your laptop, there is an iMac that's in the room that you can use this to test out to make sure that those USB videos are working. Those MP4s on that USB stick are viable, they're working, and that you've captured what you wanted to capture. If you prefer a PC, there's actually a PC lab that's just down the hall from room 2495. So you just walk, I think you're walking straight south towards the other side of the building. There's a small PC lab that's in there. You can feel free to use our wet wipes if you'd like as well. Just take a couple of wet wipes, or Clorox wipes, and then wipe down that PC, and you can feel free to use that. There's not usually anybody there anyway. The video at the bottom. Yep, those are the big tips that I was finding. Also, yes. Oh, Ed, thank you very much. Students don't expect perfect videos, and that's not the goal of the Lightboard, to create something perfect. It's just something that's creating, we hope, is more useful to your students and more impactful for your students. It doesn't need to be perfect. If you have the ums and ahs, if you have to erase your drawing, if you're drawing a diagram of the United States and Maine comes out looking weird, that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. So definitely, thank you, Ed. That is, Kathy just shared the file size document. It's really about 33 megs per second. A 30-minute video is about 1 gigabyte. So we prefer, again, best practices isn't to go that high. But right now, we just wanted to open this up in case anybody had any questions. Otherwise, I can go through the questions that you have in the collaborative document. So feel free to raise your hand or just pop something in the chat.
It was actually, Sarah, you always anticipate what we're about to say. This isn't for synchronous currently, right, Lane? We're initially rolling out Lightboard just for recording drawing videos, not even uploading like a diagram or PowerPoint to write over, correct? That will be rolled out in the future.
Yes. So eventually, with the Lightboard, there's really a lot of different applications you can do. If you've noticed in the back of most Lightboards, it's black. You can actually have a PowerPoint that's overlaid on the top. So you don't have to draw out those complicated diagrams or drawings. You can just have those popped up on the monitor, and you can draw on top of those. You can do this recording live. There's all kinds of things you can do with the Lightboard. Right now, we just wanted to start out slow and get everyone used to it, including ourselves. And then we can start slowly rolling out the different features and different cool things that you can do with it. So it's not that you can't do it, it's just that we can't do it quite yet, just because we want to be a little bit more conservative in how we roll it out so something doesn't fall apart at the last moment when you're trying to prep. So hopefully that answers your question, Sarah. So I'm going to work through some of those questions in case, but if you have any, feel free to answer them. How does this room work with social distancing? The room is actually large enough for 2 people with social distancing. The board itself is not big enough to social distance and have 2 people on at the same time, but you can have 2 people in there at one time and maintain social distancing. Inside of the closet, there is a closet that is clearly labeled, that has supplies, including masks and Clorox wipes. So if you forget a mask, you can wear it if you have 2 people. The other thing as well is that I don't know. I think Kathy recommended this, and it's on the screen. I can see right here. We recommend the Quartet neon markers. There's 2 main types of markers that work for this. It just that have been recommended. Quartet is one, and then there's the Expos. The Expos we have found are much more difficult to erase. So we found that using the Quartet is really the best. It erases really nicely. It makes a nice mark. The other thing about those markers, though, is that we have a full supply of those. So we have markers and wiping cloths that you can keep. We have about 20 packages of all of it. So if you want to come in, you don't even have to go and buy your own markers. The supply closet will have a package that is for you. You can use and take it home with you. Take home the cleaning cloth as well. And we're just doing that. So again, how does this work with social distancing? How do we protect people from COVID? We're just allowing everyone to have their own set of markers, so you don't have to worry about wiping them down perfectly each time as well. In a hypothetical future, this is from Caroline, world where social distancing is no longer required, could 2 instructors be at the board together? Yes, our board, you could do it. It's going to be a little cramped. It's not the big board. So you could have 2 people. It would be a little bit small, but if that's something that you feel you'd like to do, definitely that's where the experimentation it's up to you. Bring somebody in and see if you can get it, if you get it a situation that you like. Yeah, absolutely. All right. What do you need to bring with you? Really, the big things that we recommend, the first time, you can just use our markers. Just take a set of our markers, our cleaning cloth. You can have that. So the second time, let's say then, bring those markers, bring the cleaning cloth, bring a USB stick. We recommend at least a minimum of 16 gigabytes. Those are super cheap. And have one that's dedicated to this. I think that just makes it a little bit more stable and less likely for that USB stick to fail. So markers, cleaning cloth, you can use ours. Just going back the second time. USB stick, and then a computer as well, a laptop, just so that you can test out everything. So using your own equipment, which just makes it easier. Is there anything else, Kathy, that you can think of besides those big 4 things?
No, what I was going to say is I'm going to be posting the link to our checklist that lists everything you should bring and everything you should do before going to the Lightboard room to record.
Yes, thank you. Valerie had another question. Will undergrad or grad students be allowed to sign up to use the Lightboard for their own presentations, or only faculty, instructional staff? We are totally okay with graduate students using this. So if you have a graduate student that wants to use this, totally fine with us. If you have an undergrad, we would ask, I think I'm not against the idea. I would like to talk with Kathy and Ed a little bit more about that. Especially it's something if like it's a more special use case, it'd probably be okay. We want to check in together just to kind of see if there's any pros or cons for that. But I'm open to both of that. But definitely graduate students, TAs, instructors, anybody that are paid staff, totally fine to use. Let's see. So can I use one of those USBs that have a smaller connector to the laptop? Let's see. It's one of those. Oh, maybe like a USB-C? Is that what we're talking about?
It's a standard USB.
Yeah, so it's just a USB-A. It's just like the old-timey USBs that they've had since the 90s. I mean, it's a USB 3, but it's the same sort of format as that. It's not going to be the smaller size. Though if you have we have a stick that has a USB original and then the USB-C, the newer one. That's the smaller holes. It has it on the same stick. There's not really a difference in format. It's just a difference in what the actual physical thing that plugs in is. The standard USB. Thank you. Yes. Good question, Esther. Post-recording, you don't have to do any post-recording editing. There's really no editing difference. There's no need to edit with this tool. Really, you can just plug it in and play, do your recording, and that's it. You don't have to do any editing or anything. You don't have to flip anything. It's all done just by pressing the button and turn it on, and then pressing the record button. That's it. So there's no need for editing, though that said, you can, because you're just producing an MP4 file, and if you want to chop off the beginning or chop it into 2 or whatever you want to do, you certainly can, and then load it to Kaltura. But it's really just, there's no editing that's required. Is there data about how engaging this type of video is versus voice over PowerPoint using a Surface and drawing? Absolutely. We actually have a link to an article at the bottom here. That would be this one right here, Lightboard, a teaching tool, implications on teaching online and flipped classrooms. Right there, and it's I-aided digital library. That's not a spelling error. That would give you some of the data that has been coming out on this. And yes, absolutely. Research has been showing that having the students being able to see the instructor, to have that social presence of the instructor there, is really advantageous in terms of comprehension, retention of that content, and then a student's feeling of engagement and community, which is what we've been seeing at the university and indeed at the around the country in terms of students. Excuse me. We've been seeing that this has been really helpful for students. Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Having the sense of community, having an instructor presence has really been shown to be important for students. This is something they really miss when they're online. They don't like just having a kind of a blank, bodiless voice speaking to them. They want to be able to have that sense of community with that. All right. So you can check out that video or that document, the document for a little bit more on the evidence right there. Can I record your whole 15-minute lecture? You can, but we would recommend against that. File size, we've talked about that quite at length. These videos go right into my Canvas course. Eventually, you could do that. That would be totally possible, but again, that's something that we haven't rolled out yet, and we'd have to work through the instructions on that. I think really based on how the Lightboard is set up, that it'd be much more simpler for you just to use the USB stick and then upload that file into Canvas. But eventually, that would be possible. It's just something that we don't have set up quite yet. Editing, where again, you don't need to edit if you don't want. Is the room always open? How do I get in? Again, that room is really going to be open. It's just a lockbox that will, kind of be the gatekeeper. We do ask, though, that you contact us at cedal@uwm.edu to reserve a time, so that way you don't have two people making that trip onto campus and then overlapping. So totally, it's open whenever that building is open. Just reserve ahead of time so that we aren't, having a scheduling conflict. You don't have to worry about whether or not I'm available or Kathy or Ed are available, because it's just really kind of self-service. Let's see. What is the combination to the lockbox? Well, that's secret. But we'll definitely send that along to you once you sign up. And is it possible to add a captioning for accessibility? Will captions show up on the videos created in the Lightboard? The Lightboard itself is just recording. If you would like to have closed captioning, there are different options that are available. If you put it on YouTube, it will automatically machine closed caption for you. And there might be, and I'm not sure exactly what other tools that will automatically machine caption. Does anyone know?
Media?
About captioning? Yeah. It's actually in the instructions. Sorry.
Yeah, so and Kathy wrote the instructions, so I'm going to be quiet and let her explain it. Going away, Kathy.
No. Our recommendation is to upload this to My Media, and My Media gives you the option to order captions. It's free. They're automatically done. You can go back and edit those captions, and it's all in the directions. I can even put the directions link here, but the directions are in the class, and it takes you from walking in the room all the way to your video, where to put your video, and how to get your video into Canvas. So it's really kind of the whole life cycle of this, and I'll put that link up in a minute.
Thank you, Kathy. That's awesome. I sometimes feel like I have the attention span of a goldfish when compared to Kathy. She just is so thorough and gets everything right in a line. So, is there closed captioning? Yes, and Kathy's already wrote the instructions. They're on the Canvas course. Amazing. What options besides this board are available? Great question. You don't have to use a Lightboard. You don't have to go onto campus. Though again, this is something that's free for you to use, but maybe just not applicable to you right now. So let me go right here. What alternatives exist to a Lightboard? You don't want to go onto campus. What's your alternatives? You can certainly do a traditional video lecture where you just are doing pretty much what I'm doing and speaking in front of a camera. Voice over PowerPoints. I teach history. I'm not always writing diagrams, though I like to do that. I do that when I'm doing teaching live, but sometimes I just, I can get most of what I'm trying to do with just a PowerPoint. So a voice over PowerPoint can be a very effective tool for teaching. You don't always need to use something like hand capture devices. There are tablets that you can go and buy on Amazon that is just plugged into your computer via one of many different types of USB devices. And it will capture your hand as it draws. So you can draw out equations and see them come to life on a screen, and you can walk through students through equations with a hand capture device. Or, and oh no, I forgot the link. I'll have to put that on there. I was testing it out today. There is a really cool instructional video that Kathy Pinkowski put together. Again, Kathy Pinkowski, on how to use a document cam, create a document cam kind of on the fly, so that way you can walk through students and create a video that's very similar to a Lightboard. Not quite the same, but gives you a little bit of that feel, so you can draw out equations in a smaller area pretty much for free, just by buying a little pieces of equipment, or maybe stuff that you have around the house if you want to be like MacGyver, which could be really cool. So there are alternatives to a Lightboard that are available, and there is instructions that Kathy and I, or Ed, or even Sita, you can find a whole lot on voice over PowerPoints that you can use, so you don't have to use a Lightboard. And if you'd like to ask us on some strategies for alternatives, please feel free to do that as well. We're all interested in just good teaching design, not necessarily a tool. Go for it, Ed.
There are a couple really crazy hacks if you search YouTube on, because most phones now will record in reverse. So I've seen some very low cost hacks that people get just a piece of glass and they write on it backwards and film it on their phone backwards. It's certainly not anywhere near as nice as that, but there are some interesting workarounds that people have put into play, but certainly not to the caliber of this piece of equipment.
And the idea behind the Lightboard is just to make it easy and to make it simple for you to do. And if it's simpler for you to stay at home and to do this, definitely do that. And looking up some of those ideas, those hacks would maybe save you some time. Just again, something to experiment and play with. Esther, where is the video by Kathy about documents? I'm a big fan of Kathy's videos. Yes. I will, Kathy, let me see. Give me a half a second here. I can pull it up. There's two. I'll put that on the document where I was originally going to put it, but totally flubbed it. Give me half a second, please. I'm just pulling up that document. There we go. And now is when, oops, copy that link. And so you'll see it popping up right now. There's link 1, and one more. There we go. So Kathy created those 2 videos right there, and Esther, so that would be, you can go check that out right there. Loom.com is free to all teachers and students and is a super easy way to record whatever you show on your own computer screen with a video of your face talking embedded in the corner. It's easy and cool. Thank you very much, Valerie. I'm going to pop that up on our sheet. There we go. See below.
I do have a list of screen record, anything free. I pretty much have a list of it in a chart, so I can provide that. I just wanted to mention the videos that I created. They are the original MacGyver videos. So if you are in an emergency situation, which we were, it was things like how to use a dry erase board and a makeup mirror to turn your laptop into a dot cam, or using a shoe stand and your smartphone, how you can, again, record narration while drawing. So both of my videos that Lane are going to post are about somehow capturing drawing. Some people had Wacom tablets, which are wonderful, but a lot of people didn't when all this started. So if you need to draw and narrate over it, that's what those 2 videos are. It's as low tech as you can get. And
free is awesome. All right. That answers pretty much. Oh, is there plans for more than one of these on campus? Not currently. There is one right now. It's in 2495 in the North Quadrant. Definitely test that out and see if you would like to have, if you have a reason for having another one. But we plan to keep this as open as we possibly can for anybody and everybody who would like to use it. Any other questions? Because that pretty much wraps up the session today. It wasn't really interactive, and I apologize for that. But we just really wanted to be able to introduce the tool and kind of open the gates to you to be able to start using it however you want. We have a couple of instructors in the math who are already creating videos, and so they've been having really good success with that as well. I think the only problem they had was one time they accidentally might have taken out the USB stick a little bit too soon, but otherwise it's been going pretty well. So feel free to use it, start reserving it. Just email cedal@uwm.edu. Check out the Canvas course site. We have a link in the chat and also on this document right here. But that's pretty much it for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to stick around. We will be happy to answer them. And next week we'll be back again. The schedule is a little bit tossed up in the air because of the whole sickness thing. But otherwise, thank you so much for your attention this week. Have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye, everyone.